associations, the Sierra Leone Bar Association and the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists, SLAJ. President Bio thanked the revered leaders for being knowledgeable about the 10th August 2022 insurgency in the country that attempted, in his words, to undermine democracy, peace, and stability and peaceful cohesion. The president said, as a nation, we've all agreed that violence would be a thing of the past, but that the actions of some individuals on that day were not in good faith. The president acknowledged the CSOs and media ecosystem for constructive criticisms of his government and their assessment of governance issues, the majority of which, according to him, are both negative and positive. He said, despite the various efforts to keep the country and government in check as part of the democratic process, his government had been constantly reminded to walk on the path of a positive trajectory. He reminded the gathering of how collectively as a nation they had built a positive image of a country that was resilient and one that had championed its own cause to development irrespective of the odds. President of SLAJ, Ahmed Sahid Nasrallah, blamed all actors, including citizens within and outside the country, and asked that all of us must take responsibility for what happened on that day. He said the root cause of all the problems in the country is too much politics, which has divided us as a nation. As well as said, the people need to pipe down because it will further divide all sectors. It distorts and disrupts the government's focus on the new direction it's promised the nation. Politics, he said, has promoted hate and hypocrisy, undermined patriotism and nationalism, peace and national cohesion, and eroded core values of labor, excellence, dedication, integrity, and trust. Tonight, we continue to look into the militating factors that must be corrected in order to consolidate the nation's peace and democracy. My name is Samuel Wise-Bangui, and this is AYV on Sunday. The topic for today, we're looking at how we can continue to thread in the path of democratic values, peace, and national cohesion. And with me in the studio, I have the Executive Director for Campaign for Good Governance, who doubles as the Chair for National Elections Watch, Marcella Samba. Good evening and welcome back home.
It's a pleasure to be on the show.
All right, I have the President of the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists, Ahmed Sahid Nasrallah. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, viewers and listeners. I'm happy to be here.
All right, I have Council Member of the Interreligious Council, Sheikh Ibrahim Bari. Good evening and welcome to Washington Sunday.
Good evening, assalamu alaikum.
Right, I have from IL Sierra Leone, the Executive Director, Joseph Sano. Good evening, Joseph, and welcome to the show.
Good evening.
All right, Marcella, for obvious reasons, I'm going to start off with you. I watched the interview you did with an international media entity, and of course, the way you described what transpired August 10 and denying that is not the Sierra Leone, that is not the Sierra Leone we want. Let's go back to really what transpired on that day and looking at so many advocacies that have been done around peace, democracy, national cohesion, and development. Where did that particular day put all of those things you've been calling for?
You said, Samuel, today and moving into the future, as an organization, we have taken a position to say that we need to speak to the hearts and minds of Sierra Leoneans to de-escalate the tension. And that's exactly what I'm going to do today. We need to understand that, for example, why Campaign for Good Governance, irrespective of the odds, we keep coming to the public. Despite the space was toxic, we keep coming to the public, educating the public, raising issues, showing dissent for circumstances that we are obviously not in line with democratic practices and issues. It's for what's happened on that day. We don't want the ugly scenes to repeat themselves. Because let me tell you, in every society, you will definitely have aggrieved persons. So you would need a channel for those people who are aggrieved to bring out their dissent. Equally so in society, in independent arbiters, when people feel aggrieved, they go to these institutions and their issues are addressed. That is the role the courts play. Independent institution like the Electoral Commission, that's the role they play. The Political Party Registration Commission, now pushing for regulatory aspect, that is the role they play. The Human Rights Commission, to show that these are tenets of democracy which needs to be upheld, and these institutions are charged with the responsibility to make it happen. And more importantly, the institution that every Sierra Leonean on a daily basis interact with is the Sierra Leone police. Even if you don't have a one-to-one contact, you see them on the road.
Right.
So Sierra Leoneans interact with that institution on the daily basis. And that's why independence and professionalism should be the hallmark of such institutions. But having said that and laid the parameters, I would also want to mention, if we are honest and we want to say what we saw on August 10th, we don't want to see that again. That's not the story that should define us as Sierra Leoneans. Then we need to be sincere towards peace and cohesion. As I speak, I want to recommend to all the politicians who pay young people to go online and attack personalities on social media as keyboard warriors and social media vigilantes to stop that forthwith. That is the starting point to peace. Because let me tell you, having studied what unfolded on the 10th and the days running up to the 10th, it's actually violence online that translated to offline violence. And so if we do not demobilize hate speech and violent language, it's going to be a really tough time as we run up to the elections. So all those, in fact, what democracy espouses? Democracy espouses a space of free expression. But there's a difference between free expression and hate speech. There's a difference between free expression and cyberbullying. Whilst the previous is part of democracy, the latter is a crime. Cyberbullying is a crime. And so we need to understand that. So if you mobilize youth online, right, as I speak to you, they will be online. And so demobilize them.
They are.
There's a legitimate space. If political parties want their views to be heard, there is a legitimate space. It is your right. If government wants their policies and practices to be heard, they have all the space to do that. You don't need to criminalize speech by hiring people to be attacking each other. And equally so, the media houses and outlets, they need a situation where, for example, they need to regulate the space, right? If we're having a discussion now and you give me the floor to speak and I am saying things, or people are saying things that are counterproductive, you take the mic from me.
Right.
So if you are running a show online, you need to have code of conduct online. If people come to your space and they are throwing and spewing hate, it needs to be regulated. As I speak, somebody should be monitoring it. Because unfortunately, these are the tendencies the young people imbibe, and they think it is correct, and it is not correct.
As you say that, already even on our own platform on Facebook, when we leave it open for people to just interact and be part of the conversation. I mean, there is also this direct attack, online attack, against personalities we invite here every now and then to discuss national issues. But our social media team is very active, very proactive to just weed them off and block them, obviously, so they do not have access to the platforms again. So which is why we always encourage our online viewers, please ensure your messages really just talk about the issues we're discussing. Nothing about personality, nothing about hate or tribes or ethnicity. We do not need that at this moment. Please let your messages speak to promoting peace and national cohesion, which at the end of the day will inform our development trajectory. So as you said, I just quickly want to have Nasrallah on that. This is one of the things you captured in your statement to the president. But today, we see, Samuel will just wake up, with a smartphone, have an online TV, go Facebook Live, and start doing all sort of things because Samuel belongs to party Y or shares party Z's, philosophy or ideology. And so everybody else that do not, or that everybody that does not belong to that particular party becomes automatically an enemy. And so we should just do something to get rid. And how is that, panning out for even journalism as a whole in the country?
Yeah, thank you very much.
I think we've all condemned the violence, and we've all spoken with one voice. And we're happy that the government also, from the presidency, has taken upon himself to engage stakeholders so that we move forward, get their ideas and move forward. Yes, I think that we'll have to look forward and see how we all can contribute to ensure that moving forward. I think it's good that this happened now, so we're able to. It has given us a wake-up call, because if we had waited much longer to the time for the elections, then it would have been very difficult to handle. So now this is an opportunity for us to go back to the drawing board and see how we can save that. Yes, those people, they are undermining the profession itself. Yes, because and I think that space is outside of the regulation or the power of the IMC, because it's something that we've brought to their attention, but the IMC doesn't have the power to control those online platforms. Because the people operating it, they're outside of Sierra Leone. And they have all kinds of platforms. And when they go to this platform, the moment they begin to talk, the angle they are coming from.
Right.
And most times that is the breeding ground for all of these hate speech and these fake news and political propaganda. So it's undermining the profession. And we don't have control over those spaces. Because social media, we have control over that, but the moment social media comes in, then we're losing the control. Yeah, so that's why it takes all of us the responsibility. The Ministry of Information, the government communication machinery, and the traditional media, and other people as well who are influencers, people who are role models, to also occupy that space and begin to talk. But it's because of the politics again. The politics has driven most of the good people to the edges. They don't want to participate. Everybody is looking back and sit back and say, if I go there to the center, it's so much noise and so much accusation, so much labeling, and there's nothing I can contribute. But it is wrong. Let them come back. Let us come back and occupy the space so that we don't give them any space to do their evil stuff. Yeah.
How should we, outside calling on credible people to occupy that space because of the vacuum? We've seen a lot of people occupying that, the wrong people occupying that space.
But I don't believe there's a vacuum. There's no vacuum. It's a space. If we use it well, it is good for democracy. There is no gap there. People are saying there's a communication gap. No, there's no gap. That space is for everybody. It's just that we've taken the conversation from the physical space to the online space, right. And now people are so over excited about the space that they're using it for so many motives. That's the problem. So we need to encourage, if you're a Solonian and you're using that space, it doesn't matter where you are, use it responsibly. And remember that whatever you do there have repercussions. So.
All right, let me quickly bring it, Sheikh. Your entity has this huge following and command over Sierra Leoneans. Since we enjoy just tolerance, we look at Islam and Christianity, the two acceptable religions in Syria. And the council itself appears to be a bit, should I say, compromised in the sense of its not being seen occupying that space as the moral guarantor to proactively, intervene in certain situations to see how you could curb some of the threats that are against our peace and national cohesion as a nation. First off, what does the council make of what happened August 10th?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I want to remind you that the Inter-Religious Council is now 25 years old, quarter of a century, and it was established at the height of the war. The war is older than the Inter-Religious Council by 66 years, because it was established in 1996-97. Okay, so and the main focus was to provide peace in this country.
Right.
So we are the only, I can say, maybe I'm wrong, we are the only peace-oriented organization that was specifically established
For that purpose.
But you'll be surprised to know that we are the bedrock of peace in Sierra Leone. Because why I'm saying this, thank God we don't have religious conflict in this country. That is because of the Interreligious Council. You know, we have these two main religions in Sierra Leone. Of course, Sierra Leone is a secular country, but we are a religious nation, okay? So for us to enjoy peace, these two religions has to come together first. But people normally overlook that, okay? The fact that we have peace in this country, we have cohesion in this country is because of the Interreligious Council. Because if the Muslims and the Christians were not living in peace, we will not have even political peace or social peace or economic development. So I want to bring that to the audience attention. Let them appreciate that, okay? You have countries in the region, I don't want to name them. A simple misunderstanding between the two religions will lead to a lot of disaster. But we thank God we are here. We are keeping an eye on that. And so far, we don't have a problem in that particular aspect. Coming back to the 10th August incident, the Interreligious Council is monitoring issues, okay? And before that, before the 10th August, the Interreligious Council had developed a code of conduct for political parties because our focus was the election. That election is coming. We knew that is coming with a lot of challenges. And we invited political parties to our office to come and read this code of conduct, own it, you know, and improve it, and come back to us and sign. But some were reluctant to do that. It is now that they realize some political, I don't want to mention at this particular moment, I don't want to call names because we are still in the process, but some were very reluctant. You know, that is the nature of human being. Whenever you always feel relaxed when things are okay. But the moment something spark, for example, in your house, if you will not realize that you have rats in your house until one day you are sitting and a rat pass by you, and the next day you go and buy medicine for the rat. So we already had developed this code of conduct that is binding to all political parties, and it's a very good document. And we're in the process to finalize this document before this 10th August arrest happened. And but the day of the arrest itself, we engage each other. We are discussing. It's not, if not because of the curfew, we'll have gone even out to certain hotspots to talk to them. Because in any area we have our members, you either have a Muslim or a Christian, you either have a sheikh or imam or a pastor or a reverend. But because of the curfew, we could not do anything that day. But we developed a roadmap, okay, that very day. But gracefully, His Excellency the President invited us to go and see him. But we had a program to see him, you know, and other stakeholders. And after we met him, the next day we met all political parties through the PPRC. And I'm not in a liberty here to discuss that because we are still in the process. Okay. And next week we are going to meet so many other stakeholders as well. And we are coming out with a report.
What are the stakeholders that you will be meeting next week?
Political parties, trade unions, youth groups, women's group, the security sector, okay, and other key players. And our objective is to listen to them. We want to listen to them. We know we have some information, but we want to listen to them and let them talk to us. What is their problem? And it's a two-way dialogue. We are going to take all this information to their ultimate destination, and we are going to do more other things in the coming days by the grace of God.
Let me ask this question. Given the fact that the Interreligious Council was formed, on the basis of restoring peace in Sierra Leone at the time that Sierra Leone needed it the most, and would I be safe to say the Interreligious Council succeeded, enjoyed in that path, and at the end of the day we returned to peace? But looking at the years after, coming to today's Sierra Leone. This is, one would say, what happened on the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th, they were not spontaneous. Those, issues of violence were not spontaneous. People, they were all over the place. Did we just sit back and look at, let's see what thing here for happen? Do we always have to wait and see what happens? Then after we react and see what can be done. Especially now, I know, for example, if a sheikh or a pastor is in a particular community, when that pastor says something or when that sheikh says something, there's a likelihood that majority of the people would listen. So what's the plan? In this, I asked about the stakeholders, because when we talk about stakeholders today, we forget about those down there who bear the brunt of the economic situations, the exploitation from the politicians. We just engage the political parties, the ruling class, the opposition, those who, would be able to sit comfortably with in the conference room. What's the plan like?
Well, again, don't forget the main target of the Interreligious Council is the grassroots. Because you mentioned the church and the mosque.
Right.
The church and the mosque is open to everybody. And in a weekly basis, we have the Friday prayer, which we give a sermon. And that sermon actually is meant to strengthen the moral and the spiritual standard of our people, and to advise them to be good people and not to offend God, And we concentrate on the sin aspect, committing sins. And the church also, I think, they do the same, obviously. So we engage the grassroots to that way. And again, we have been, from our own point of view, we have been engaging people in our community, people from different walks of life, We advise them, we talk to them. And one thing, let us not say Sierra Leone, we are all bad people. Yes, we regret what happened on the 10th of August, but how many percentage of the Sierra Leone population took part? So we are still a good nation. We're not that, we are not a worst nation. Still, we regret what happened. Of course, it should not have happened at all. But still, because of our messages, you still have some people, even that day, who were pacifying people. There is one clip, I don't know where it was shot, maybe from the eastern part of Freetown. A taxi was driving, maybe you have seen it, and they were throwing stone. And I saw a lady in hijab was trying to help that taxi. Was telling the youth, please, allow him to go, allow him to go. So this is an example of a good citizen, okay? And somebody was saying, kill him. Just imagine. Now compare, the other one is saying, kill him. The other one is saying, no, allow him to go. This is the impact of the moral standard and spiritual standard in human being. Of course, we cannot be perfect, all of us. But this dialogue that we are taking along with us is going to touch everybody. And it's going to touch the grassroots, the youth, and the congregation as a whole. In fact, the first Friday after the incident, most of the khutbah or the Friday sermon touched on the importance of security and peace, and the importance of, not harming other people. And that is sinful and punishable by God. So, because that is the only way we can instill the fear of committing, sin, by telling them that you will be punished. You can escape the police, the investigation, you can escape our law enforcement agencies, but you cannot escape the Almighty, because He knows you, He knows everything about you, and everything is recorded. And you will be asked. You'll be asked about all this act that you are doing. So our approach is grassroots approach, and is congregational approach. We're not going to leave anybody out.
All right, continue still with me. Let me bring in Joseph Sano. You're part of those observing elections. But just before looking at that, Sano, in today's Sierra Leone, for example, many people, when there are names you mentioned, even in the media world or the sales world, people are so quick to actually brand or tag And that is not helping the situation. So, for example, you in the civil society world, what is happening with the messages that you should be putting out there? I mean, the other day somebody was telling me there is a gap. And I mean, the other people have realized and they've seen that gap, so they are filling up that gap in a very negative way and looking at the impact in Sierra Leone. I mean, the effect of that in Sierra Leone is something that all of us are not proud of. So what is happening with the messages that should be sent out, I mean, to promoting peace and national cohesion from your side?
Notice is that before the advent of the new media, the social media, it was difficult for you to pass information in such manner. Because before then, we have select. If I want to talk to my grandma in America, we know how we used to strain. It was huge constraint. Apart from that, when the email came, it was difficult because it was for people that were officially using it. But now, with the advent of the social media platform like WhatsApp, YouTube, Facebook, those platforms have encouraged and promotes freedom of speech, freedom of expression. But people in overseas are using those platforms to make money, to improve their country, to improve their life. What we have taken that platform for is the wrong way. We have taken it to spread hate, to spread division, to spread things that are just real against our own culture and values. So it shows that we are not really using the cyberspace very well. So, and we have the 2021 Cybercrime Act. What we have not done is how can we reach out to the public to explain to them, to educate them that what your phones, your iPad, your social media software that you're using can aid you, number one, for education. Number two, it can act as an employment for you. It can act as a way for you to increase money, to earn money. So because even the act itself, its popularization was a problem. So where we have failed is that we have not taught our citizens on the responsible use of social media. And we have not been able to ensure that we continuously tell the people of this country that, look, you have to respect law and order. You have to respect process and procedure. If you do not respect those things, we will not have peace and security. And we should do it continuously. What we do most of the time, when situations arise, that is the time we bring up things. So these are challenges we have to look at and quell away, how we can continuously meet the youth. Remember, the youth of Sierra Leone, the youth of Kenya, the youth of Ghana, the youth of America are different. Our youths, when you go to them, there is a way they are thinking. When you go to a youth in Ghana, I remember in Ghana, we saw a clip where a politician was trying to bribe the youth with rice, bags of rice. What did the youth did? They returned it. They said, we are not going to sell our votes. I was in Ghana when they saw a particular youth in an area wanted to use the social media to cause mayhem. And that particular youth was brought forward. And their cyber acts, they are monitoring it and bringing people to book. And then they talk to you first. And after that, if you continue it, they levy charges against you. I saw that in Ghana. I saw that in Kenya. So what we need to do, maybe to borrow, but most of the time, we borrow these things and we come here, maybe after one program, maybe raise funds and implement one time, maybe we'll say there is no more fund for continuity. So it is very, very germane to all of us to continue to educate the youth. We know we have illiteracy at the highest peak in our country. We know we have poverty in the increase, but you can still be poor and be a reasonable man and be a decent person in society.
You know, as you say that, I know you want to comment on that. So let me ask the question, Sano. just quickly, with the stark reality of Sierra Leoneans, living in monumental abject poverty over time, already there is a fertile ground for exploitation, especially us young people who feel, we're ambitious, but the ecosystem or the environment is not conducive for us to thrive, for us to achieve our dreams or give us the inspiration to dream a little more bigger. That is not happening. So when people like those who know they need us at some certain point and they know what we need at that point come, how then do we, with the mindset we have, the orientation we've been given over time, that they were the only council we want them, which then kind of the 10 for low, it's low, it's low. How do we change that mindset? Because at the end of the day, it is us with the physics that would go to the streets like we saw on the 10th of August.
It takes continuous dialogue, because what I see in this country, what we should have done in the beginning is what we are doing last now. Because those days we think education is a privilege but not a right. Most of our mothers, most of our brothers were unable to go to school because those days to go to school you need huge amount of money. I've seen people who comes to Freetown and our, like for higher learning institutions, they were not all around. We only had Jala and FBC. So we had real challenge because when you stop at Form 3, Form 1, or because I sat to GC, Form 5 or go to lower 6 and upper 6, you have not learned something that will earn you that type of job. Right, so what
we have graduates, first class, people with
I'm coming to that,
who are not employed.
So what we should have done, the first thing, when you build the mind of the people, it will help us greatly. The second thing is you ensure that we create the infrastructures for employment. And it is in other countries, it is not governments that give the highest quota of employment. Citizens out of the country, like for instance, the incitement that is coming from overseas, if those people can just galvanize themselves and open companies here and employ at least 100, 200, 1,000 people, it is happening in Nigeria, it is happening elsewhere, we will ensure that employment is eased. But look at the problem we are faced with. The mere Sierra Leonean is not ready to invest into business, to establish institutions. What they only look at, I have graduated, I want to go to the bank, I want to have a government office. We should move our mind from that, create offices, create businesses, and employ our brothers and sisters. That is what I see in Senegal. That is what I'm seeing in other countries. Let us help government, because what we are seeing, all the politicians and all evil people that do not plan well for this country, the sooner a government comes to power, they said he should provide employment for all the youths. And no government, not even America, not even the Queen or the Prime Minister in England will be able to do that. What happens is that serious citizens that have money should not hide the money on the bed. You have to sacrifice. That's why I like Ghana. They will tell you that Ghana is for Ghanaians. So what we need to do is to create business opportunity, create offices, and employ our youth. And don't tell me the youth are not serious.
Okay.
The youth will be serious when you talk to them. The youth have potential, but they have been used to sitting down and people don't help them. So in everything, I think we have to meet the youth. I think what we did not do in the initial part of our country, we have to go back to the drawing board, support education, support youth empowerment, invest into the business sector, invest into the agriculture. That is critical.
Let me bring in
for us.
Marcella. Marcella, with all what is happening, our socio-economic, standing is not supportive of our move, of our dream to have a very peaceful and cohesive society, one that thrives in a development trajectory, one that, today, if my son is sick, I would not need to call Marcella. Hey, Marcella, me picking well, I need money for go hospital. With all of these militating factors against peace, and Sierra Leone's peace is evidently deteriorating from the third most peaceful in the continent to now the fourth. I mean, it speaks clearly to the threats we are confronted with as a nation. What should we really focus on if we are actually serious about consolidating some of these democratic tenets?
Good question and good position, Samuel. And truly and honestly, poverty is a common enemy, and we've not had time. I come to the studio very often, and it's always to interject on one political problem or the other. Right. I want us to sit together and curate ideas. We need to go into sophisticated conversation. How do we address, the questions of the youth bulge? The youth bulge is real in Sierra Leone. Right. Close to 65% of our young people, are under 35. 65%. We have a huge youth population. Is it a valuable resource? Yes, it is. Because these are able-bodied men and women. Unfortunately, half of that population are on drugs. Half of that youth population are dejected. Half of that population doesn't have hope. What do we do? And that's why I believe in the power of truth. In any governance scenario, if you begin to create false narrative, then you are not getting there. When we come forward, we bring the issues. It's for people to realize that we must take decisions and make policies to address those issues. But when we project false narrative, Fala say this is not clear. Why? So, for example, people angry, they say, "Una can't team up, una all talk say una belful." Then the people all can't team up, say, "We don't belful." Now, the one person go team up, he faints with angry. So the reality would shock. And so we cannot continue with false narrative. We have to inject the power of truth and decency. If poverty is a common enemy, let's agree that poverty is a common enemy, right? 6-7 years ago, I would sit in the studio and say, water is a crisis. Right. Today again, I will sit here and say, water is a crisis, right? It's not about which government is in power. The fact remains that we have a crisis of water. And it's not about who is sitting on the seat. It's about how can we come together and address the problem of water and sanitation. Until we begin to think in that light, we are missing the point. It's not always about point scoring to say, oh, we are doing well. No, where we are not doing well, we need to talk about it and how we find common solutions. You see, the power of information, I keep coming to this because that is what we need. The young people need hope. They don't need distress, right? So, for example, I know that government has a number of programs for young people. For example, I know about the TVET. I keep hearing about it. But how does the ordinary youth in the village know how to access the TVET program? For example, if the program is for 5,000 youths, right? These youths should be able to say, come together, bring them together, and that's the power of the dialogue we're talking. I keep hearing people asking, in fact, they write on social media, so Marcella, who do we dialogue with? Right. Yes? So this is the power. Especially political class. So this is the power of the dialogue I'm talking about. Bring the youths themselves to come up with a solution to say, now we have 5,000 spaces to train people in carpentry. What should be the criteria? Because I have just said that we have over 65%. So not all of them will access the opportunity. But let them come with a criteria to say, okay, and it's their decision. That's how you make people feel part of governance. You don't hijack the space to say, my decision should always supersede. No, bring them together. Let them decide that, okay, the 5,000 should be XYZ people. And then somebody would be in his village. It would be so hopeful that even if it takes 2 years, it will be my turn, right? I would also join the program. I would also be enlisted. So this is how it works. It's not as if government has all the resources, all the opportunities at one go, but they should be able to create a space where everybody should feel that I am part of Sierra Leone. And it is that's what patriotism is about. When you feel that you are part of the country, you will not destroy that country. And I feel sorry for young people. For any time there is a little protest in Sierra Leone, they will burn down structures, they will burn down infrastructure, they will burn down facility, because they feel that the system is against them. And that is the notion we have to clear off. We need to begin to inject patterns into a society where the young people will feel that the society is for them as well. Say, they go burn them building, because he doesn't see that building connecting with himself. And that is that connection we need to build, so that when you know that the hospital is there for you, when I access the hospital, I should be able to get drugs. But if last week I access the hospital and there is no drug, they go burn the hospital. That's the notion the youths imbibe. So they need to feel that the patterns of society are generated for their interests. So our social contract is critical. And every leader, whether in government, whether in local council, must understand that they have a role to play. And this is, before I pass on, that's the last point I want to make. I find myself in spaces where elections are being discussed. Elections are very expensive. We elect local council authorities. What are they doing exactly? Exactly. The point is they need a responsibility. They need to generate conversation in their localities. How do they drive the interest of the local community? Because this was, don't forget, exclusion was the foremost reason for the civil conflicts in the 90s. People said, we don't feel part of the government. It's only for a few sets of people. So now the discussions in 2004 was, how do we get governance at the doorstep of the people? So how do we ensure that the local councillors themselves ignite that conversation at the ward level?
So is decentralization functional at all in this country?
Functional, not just in authority to say, I am the councillor, I won the elections, but to empower the councillor in terms of resources and space to be able to deliver and mobilize the interest, so that everybody's attention would not be on the presidency. Because that is what creates the tension.
Look, Marcella, just quickly before I bring in Nazgala, looking at the governance architecture of Sierra Leone, the governance pattern, the style, even the councillor depends either on the presidency, a particular minister, or either the MP to survive. So if I have my concerns, as someone who belongs to a particular ward, and I'm aware that the councillor cannot address those concerns, because when you go to the councillor in turn will tell you, them big one there. So how do we restructure that particular pattern to ensure? Because I'll share this with you. There was a particular time I was in China, and I had to look at their governance style. They have a style that if I have a concern, I go to that community level. They can take it to but here we're saying, it's democracy. The people are the most powerful in a democratic society, but that does not seem to be the case. Those we elect are the bosses. What they say, it's fine. Today, there is this, the door is closed between APC and SLPP. Somebody was telling me, SLPP does not want, the ruling party does not want the APC to come on board. Now let's see it, because it will be seen as a way of them accepting defeats that we feel. And the opposition would see themselves as, we'll be telling us that no good idea, now they call the idea. So we are stuck. How do we move past that? Yeah. Go ahead.
The other layer is that those who benefit from the system would never see anything wrong with the system. And so they are always right when they are in power.
Right.
And the only time you hear them criticize is when they are in opposition, which is wrong. If the system is rigged, it is rigged for all of us. I keep coming back to this issue. When there is no water, it doesn't choose, right? And somebody once told me that Marcella, if you people cannot address the sanitation problem in this city, it will be difficult for you to address any issue. How can we, with such rains in this country, still have a crisis of water? And this is where you begin to imagine that our issues are enormous. And it's, to come to your question, decentralization works only if we want it to work. Because we devolve power, devoid of resources, then that's no power. They are empty, so you devolve power and resources together. So it starts from who makes the decision. Interesting in China is communism, but the people make the decision. So the communes make the decision. They come together and decide that, okay, central government, what we have this year is X for each of the districts. And they come together to say, this year, that amount of resources goes to rehabilitation of the school, or goes to the rehabilitation of the public health facility. And it is agreed, it is monitored, and it is done. But unfortunately, the resources that goes to the local council is really, really small. They cannot necessarily drive development in their localities. Don't forget that we said it is the development engine. These are the discussions we should recalibrate. Because if not, central governance is going to be much more contentious. Right? I tell you, it's very attractive.
Right.
If the diaspora people, most of them are interested now to be putting up the blocks and, the violent blocks. They are beautiful diaspora people. I know them.
Right.
I interact with them. They call me. They talk to me about Sierra Leone. They give me ideas. I know they are beautiful diaspora people. So I am not talking about you, please. I'm talking about those who are really creating problems because they want attention. Say, don't you remember that was the person putting up the blog or the online TV that was speaking for us? Bring him and make him or her minister of X or Y. Because governance has become too attractive.
Because we practice the politics of compensation.
That is the way we have done. The patronage system is also killing us. We are no longer rewarding on merit.
Right.
So in this society, you have to do something untoward. You get for really course for let them recognize you. And so we need to understand that until we bring decency and truth into the public space, we are missing the point.
Like Victor Fo once said, we have parties that reward people.
It's the politics. We should not debate on that.
Right.
The politics is the root cause of all of this problem. And the politics have become very attractive for everybody. And so people are leaving even the private sector just to everybody comes together. Because it's the easy way to, it's a very fertile ground. Marcella talked about the social contract.
Yes.
Governance responsive to the needs and aspirations of the people. And you talk about China, the layers of... We have our own here, in the wards. We have the councils, we have the district councils, and then you have the MPs. Those are the channels. You channel through the councillor, go to the district council, and then to the MPs, and then to parliament. Those are the channels we should be using. But now we have here for Freetown, we have the Freetown Municipal councils, and then it has a strained relationship with the central government. So nothing is working because for the councils to succeed, it has to work with other line ministries, the land ministry, the water ministry, the energy ministry, all of those that are involved in providing essential services. But they're not working because because the government sees the council as a PC. So you see, those are all the politicking that we don't need. Yes, we don't need that. That is undermining everything. And so we talk about the youth also. The youth problem, to me, that is the biggest time bomb we have. I've been saying this for over 10 years now because they keep multiplying and they are unskilled. Most of them are unskilled. And when you look, it's the poor people that are procreating. People who cannot earn more than 500,000 euros per month. They're getting about 4, 5, 6, 7 children. And our government is not doing anything about that. There is no policy to control those procreation. And when they give birth to those children, they are unable to take care of them. They leave them to fend for themselves. Right. Those are the children. Those are the youth now we are coping with. They are time bombs. And if government doesn't take any action, or we don't come up with creative policies how to check those trends using the family planning and stuff, definitely we're going to have a serious problem with youth. They are everywhere, every corner you go, from eastern to west to the provinces. That is a big time bomb. And so this discussion we should be having should be devoid of the politics, should be devoid of the rhetoric. Let's concentrate on the issues, and government should be open and should be less suspicious about what people are putting on the table. But the media is discussing these things every day. Marcella is discussing this. Marcella was a credible voice until they begin to label her as APC or SAPP. That's a political strategy. They discredit the credible voices, and then they bring in those Adebayos of our times to fill those spaces. That's what they are doing. Yeah, because they don't want any conversation that will bring sanity to the discourse and to help government to move forward and to society to move forward. That's the plan.
You know,
yes, and it's so crazy for
when Marcella talked about reading on Facebook, I have had government officials. I have had people who are in position to have dialogue asking the question. Would I be able to go dialogue with? I have had officials, government officials asking that.
We know what is happening. Yes. Yes, open the space. Let's talk. Yes. Listen.
People are coming to government. They need to go through periods of orientation to know what democracy means. Democracy is about the heart of conversation and dialogue. When democracy is devoid of dialogue, it starves. And these are the consequences.
Yes. We have all the democratic institutions. We have the Human Rights Commission, we have the PPRC, the EMB, we have CSOs, we have the Right to Access Information Commission, we have the ACC. All the structures are there. But all of these institutions are so subservient to the power, to the central power, that they're not functioning. That's the problem.
Let me ask this question. When Marcella talked earlier about we as Sierra Leoneans interact with the police every now and then. I hold a personal view, thinking that the police, as an institution, itself is politicized. Looking at the council and how it operates. But do we have to actually look at these institutions in isolation when we talk about, because you take a look since the carnage happened, you take a look at all the messages that have come out consistently from the government side. It's been blame game. Blaming the opposition and the opposition denying, telling government that, oh, no, it's not so weird because we don't feel in so and so and so. And they say, oh, no, we not tell is the they create problem, we not like peace, we this and so, we not accept, so we not loss, we not count the man, this not cool, and all of these things. When you addressed the president, you mentioned that, Mr. President, if you talk like Papa, if you have to, I'm saying for be the last person for fix, so they can't talk like Papa, you don't go able for bring down the situation and all of that. And Mr. Opposition, no can tell we say, tell we say, okay, this will count 2 or 3 ferries, bring alternatives. So how do we bring all of these, mix into play, into the governance, architecture, and understand a clear path that we need a peaceful and cohesive society that leads to development?
To play. The government is in the seat now. We need to provide the leadership for all of this to happen. Reach out to the opposition. If the opposition are not coming, reach out to them again. Let them come. It's not a sign of weakness. We've spoken about over and over again. But you see, the problem is the power struggle. That power struggle is very deep. We have a government who has spent 4 years in governance just responding to the opposition and forgetting about the promise a new direction. Right. And they think that because the party that was in power served 2 terms, and so even if they do not deliver on their promise, they have a right to 2 terms in governance. And then you have an opposition who think that 5 years, they've done 5 years, they're almost doing 5 years. 10 years will be too long for them to come to power and put their hand again they are sticking hands again on the pie. So that's the power struggle that is playing. But I think government at this time, there is an opportunity for them to go back to the drawing board and see how they can enhance this dialogue we're talking about. The dialogue should be there. We're all responsible. Our boss man from the Intelligence Council talked about the tolerance that we have on religion. We have so many positives that we can build on, that we can consolidate and build on. That is one. That is one big one that we can build on as a people. And the intermarriages we have, so many things we have to sell to the outside world that we build on that will not allow politics to divide us. But if the government should provide leadership, they have the responsibility now. Talk to the people, engage, and do the right things. Not just talk about them, do the right things. Do not do the things that the others have done before, and then you want to do them again just to justify that you are in power. No. Concentrate on what you promise and focus on that. Forget about the distraction, forget about the noise. Focus on what you want to do and forget about and ensure that you take everybody along. But if you spend all your time responding to rhetorics and other things that are coming from the opposition, then you're just wasting your time.
Where are we heading? I asked this question because we have about 9 months to the 2023 elections. So which means already it's politics, be it for the government, they're all the strategies they are now putting in place is how to continue to stay in power. The opposition, all what they would want to do right now is to put mechanisms to come back to power. So this troubling situation, are we really going to have the political will, whether from the government or opposition parties, to really put it under control when their focus right now is just about power?
So we have turned the challenge to them, to the government as well as the opposition. They have a responsibility. Believe me, all the supporters, all the people that are making all these problems, they look up to these two parties. Yes, because we don't have to blame APC alone. Even the government, they have their own agencies, they have their own agents that they use on social media to just to put out this, just to fight back. So they have to come out and live as good examples so that the supporters will follow them. They should speak out, and we should see them in the public together, and by the way they talk and by the narrative that they put. Because I've condemned the narrative of the government ever from the way they are responding to this issue. Yeah. The narrative is very, very wrong. It doesn't create cohesion or promote national peace. It further divides the country. So come with a narrative. That's why we said do an independent and impartial investigation into the circumstances and the issues that happened on that day. Until you do that, we don't have any evidence. We're all just assuming. Until you investigate and find out the underlying issues, where did they come out? Who are they? Try to get all those answers. Go to the bottom and let it be done by independent people, not people that will be part of the government, and then people can have confidence in it. And institutions as well, all the democratic institutions, the lack of trust, the people, the judiciary, the police, these are all the issues. The police have not also they've taken this issue too personal. The police have killed civilians for over 30 years. They've been killing civilians. This is the first incident we have police were killed. It's very unfortunate that it happened, but this is the first incident we have where police officers were butchered or killed in this way. But you have killed civilians for decades, and we've asked for investigation, for accountability, and there is no investigation. There is no report. There are no people have been held responsible or accountable for those civilians. They are civilians. They are people. They have the power. They give the power to the government. Not the constitution. The constitution does only legitimize that power, but the power comes from the people. And so when they put out their first press release in relation to this issue, I saw that there is no list of civilians killed in the protest. Only police officers. And you are responsible to provide security for the people. Right. And up till now, and the way they are going about responding to the issue is so unfortunate. They should rise up to the occasion. Yes, you have lost your officers. We don't want that. But again, remember that you are established to provide security for the nation, for the civilian, for people. That's a national duty.
Yeah, all right. Let me bring in Sheikh. You see we have the Sierra Leone Decide studio here. I'll tell you, when we were doing the launch for this program, we invited all political parties. But the two giants, APC and SLPP, did not show up to have committed themselves, to have signed up to, the rules of engagement, even for the protection of us, the journalists, who work for the institution. I cited that because Nasu Fofana is saying here, the priest at St. Paul's in SSCAP stated during Mass that SLPP and APC refused to sign, your engagements that you had with them. He is saying you should also name them. She is saying you should also name them. The question I want to ask is, the will from both APC and SLPP to actually have a cohesive society at this point, are they listening to you at all as religious leaders? Or are they just trying to, romance with you for political powers? When it's time for one presidential candidate to go to your mosque and ask for the mic to campaign, then they recognize you. When it's time for them to go to the church and ask for mic to campaign, then they recognize you. Is that the situation here? Are you respected at all? Or when things happen, they call you, come, let's discuss. What is really happening?
Well, again, let me take you to the founding principle of the Inter-Religious Council. Mm-hmm. That's why they call us the moral guarantors. Mm-hmm. We negotiated with rebels, behind rebels' lines, both the imams and the pastors. We did not go with rice or cooking oil. We just go with a simple message: be God-fearing. Mm-hmm. Think what you are doing, is it correct or not? remember if you are a Muslim or a Christian. We quote some verses from the Quran and the Bible. So this is how we manage to touch the heart of these hardcore rebels, behind rebels' line, by the way. You know, imams were taken and pastors in strongholds, rebel strongholds, those years, and there was no WhatsApp, no Facebook, and sometimes they even risked their life. There was one incident when the rebels were not happy, and some of them wanted to do some violent act. They had to evacuate those religious people from behind rebels' line. What I'm saying is that the Inter-Religious Council, our strategy is to talk to the conscious, to the mind. Now you're talking about resources, talking about structures. We have structures for the past how many years? Unless the mind, you address the mind, will not develop. Even today, if we discover oil or gas, if we are not honest, if we don't have integrity, if we don't fear that, I'm going to be punished, this is bad. If we don't touch the moral aspect of our society, we're not going anywhere. With all the rains that we have, with all the 7 or 8 rivers that we have in this country, we don't have enough drinking water in Freetown. This is a moral problem. The August 10 is just the symptoms. Okay, these are all symptoms. All these utterances, these are just a reaction. The root cause is there. The root cause is the mind. There is no moral foundation for this type of behavior. I give an example from the Islamic point of view. Prophet Muhammad was born in Mecca, and before he was born, the Mecca society or the Arab society was very violent. They used to fight over a camel. They have 2 tribes, Dahis and Al-Khabra. They fought for 40 years just because of one camel. Somebody from this tribe killed that camel, and the other tribe came and killed the person who killed the camel. The other tribe came and 40 years, 4 generations, we are fighting. That was their nature. So when Prophet came, he spent just 13 years in Mecca to talk to them, to tell them that this is wrong. And these people became the most peaceful people on earth. The most peaceful people on earth. In fact, when the Prophet migrated to Medina, and he established the Islamic country there, he signed an accord with all the other religious sects, the Jews and the Christians in Medina. And after he passed away, his first successor, who is Abu Bakr, he appointed the second successor, who is Umar, as a chief justice. Okay? After 1 year of his appointment, he came back to the leader. He said, please, relieve me from this position. He asked him why. He said, since I assumed office, I have no case. Can you imagine a law court or the judiciary sitting for 1 year without case? Nobody goes to the police station to complain. Because why? People are God-fearing. Nobody embezzles money. Nobody, is cruel or so heartless to deprive community from services. So what we are saying is
quickly, can I ask you this question? I mean, with that perfect scenario that you've narrated, I don't know if, okay, Marcella is here, so I'm safe to ask. I mean, the question I want to ask is, now, you, the followers, you who have taken up, that responsibility to walk in the path of Prophet Muhammad and Jesus Christ. These are people who epitomized, these are religious leaders who epitomized peace, love, truth. We've not seen, correct me if I'm wrong, we've not seen the religious leaders coming out strongly, naming, condemning, and correcting the mistakes that these leaders, be it the ruling or the opposition, are doing to destroy the very fundamental core values upon which the state was founded. Then, are we compromising the standards?
Approach is different. Okay, we are not a typical civil society or NGO organization. Okay, we are moral guarantors.
Right.
We have to be critical of our position as well, because we talk to even to the sinner, somebody who is not God-fearing. We go to him and talk to him. Some people will come to the mosque. They don't dress properly. We don't drive them. We let them pray. After that, we talk to them. This is our approach. So sometimes it's counterproductive for us as moral guarantors to come out and condemn and name and shame and all that. So we have our own approach, and I think people should understand our approach.
Right.
And let me tell you, as I said, we are still guaranteeing the peace in this country with this coexistence of peaceful coexistence of these two big religions in the country. Let me give an example. During the Ebola period, we helped fight the Ebola by talking to our people to listen to the measures introduced by the health sector. Okay, there was a lockdown from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It did not go down well with the people. They want to go and pray.
Right.
Some of them even say we'll riot. That riot will have been worse than this August 10, because a religious riot is more dangerous, okay? Because they think they are martyrs. If you die, you will go to heaven. We tell them, no, you don't need to riot. This is a disease which, if you go to the mosque or to the church, you are taking the virus from the church or the mosque to your family. You are going to kill the whole family. We sensitize them and they abide. This is a country that is on record, 3 days lockdown during the last government. And now COVID came, the same measure was introduced. We also talked to them and they abide. It was not easy for us to convince them, because some people say we are ready to die because of God.
Yeah.
We tell them, no, you will be punished because life is precious. Don't risk yourself because of this virus will destroy you and destroy your family. So we are doing our job, but we are doing it on our own way, quietly. As I said, we are engaging a lot of stakeholders, but we don't need to come out now and announce all that now, because our approach, just like during the war, we never shamed for the Sanko, we never condemned Sam Bokari and others. We approach them, we talk to them. Those who are Christian rebels, the Christians, clergy will go to them. Those who are Muslims, like Isa said, others, the Muslim imams or sheikhs will go to them. So this is how we do our job.
Sano, I'm going to ask you this. Still looking at the role of our religious leaders. I think for the most part, we are blessed. For example, especially with the current system, in the sense that you have the president and you have somebody who's considered to be the face of the opposition party coming from the same church, for example. Which means, there is a man of God who superintends over them in the church. I could still remember there was, I think some fundraising in that very church when Dr. Samura Kamara was not in charge. The president actually donated some money on behalf of Dr. Samura Kamara. So what is happening? Why are we not getting things right?
I think, as the others have said, people are putting politics in front of the nation. People value political party, their regions, more than the country. In America, they will say, God bless America. In England, when we are there, they say, God save the Queen. But in Sierra Leone, what we have missed is that we value our party.
Even on with no intention of continuation, even on Facebook right now, the message is them. It speaks a lot to the crisis, to the deep-rooted feud we're in as a nation.
So, and I tell you, we failed from the days from independent. What we have done, I notice, is that we put too much in our baggage. Too much. We are coming to see new manifestos, and people will say all type of things in those manifestos. They will not look at a situation and say, okay, we have been there and youth employment is a problem. Can we have a youth employment service scheme where we will say, okay, we want to ensure that we open institution, computer institution in all districts, right? We can register them as company. We have mentors to go there. If it is tailoring, if it is garage iron, different, because not all of the youth we go to university. Most of them, the middleman power is what we lack. If a youth is receiving his 1 million or 2 million per month, that youth will be at peace. That youth they don't need your millions that you are making. What we should do is to reduce the too much promises we are making, put actual things that is achievable, into our manifestos, so that at least it should not be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. At least A, B, C, and make sure that when the money comes, don't spend it on workshops. Don't spend it on other things. Implement it so that people can see the real-time results. In fact, I was just thinking, I said, people, our youths, know their rights so much. But little have they forgotten whether the judiciary division or sector of this country, maybe they are not doing proper public education, that right goes with responsibility. When you go to our constitution in 15, right? In 15 tells you about the rights. And 15 also tells you about your rights should not affect the other person's rights. If I want in England, when somebody want to protest, that does not mean we are going to close our shops. That does not mean we will not go to offices. That does not mean we will not have a good time. They will protest. They would go out and voice their opinion. But what is happening here is that little did have our youth forgotten that in as much you have right to come out, you have right to freedom of expression, you have right to freedom of association, but it should not affect that bank. It should not affect that school child. It should not affect that business. So
who is creating that environment for people who want to go out and register their grievances or dissatisfaction in the form of protest to attack and disrupt the peace? I'm asking this question, going back we've had peaceful protests in this country. Renaissance Movement, for example, has done peaceful protests in the past. But you see, today in Sierra Leone, even when the APC was in power, very evident that if Samuel wants to lead an anti-government protest, the space is not guaranteed. The space is not given. Instead, they will tell you, oh, for security reasons, we will not allow this to go on because unscrupulous Sierra Leoneans want to infiltrate. And they have the intelligence all of the time when it comes. But we've seen situations where pro-government protests have always taken the center stage and they've always come out smoothly. So does it go back to us calling for reforms in institutions and governments creating that platform?
When we are forming the coalition of election observers and that a body to help monitor elections, we know we have new have done extremely well in our society. We said, okay, let's have a second option, a national body. We had about 80 membership, and that particular, we brought some of the members here, and we went to FDC. We were there putting things together, and that was something that came up clearly, that the police, that the security sector is not allowing people to express their freedom to demonstrate or freedom of expression. How do we solve that? So, and when you look at them, most of the time, the excuses they give might be genuine, but there should be a way. Because we've seen protests here where people go and then armed people loot shops and all. So we said to ourselves, can we lobby with the police and the center government? Let's have a big field, at least in every district headquarter town. Let's have a place that is centrally located. Let that place be set aside for demonstration. If you want to demonstrate, the police should ensure that they give you the fiats to go there and demonstrate. And it should be somewhere that is accessible by all of us so that we can see the civil society, we go there, the media, we go there, and because of the mindset of our youth, because if it is other advanced country, you will leave them to demonstrate and pass along the road. As Marcella said, poverty is our problem. They will decide to demonstrate, and I have small money, and I call 2 or 3 of them, say, in Creole, when I go disrupt that demonstration. Because of integrity, because I will not call that poverty. I have been in a situation where I have no job, where I have nothing, but I manage myself. But individuals are different. So we are...
They say you will not get food in your belly, you're always angry, you're always vexed.
Yeah. So we are trying to suggest that. One of our suggestions is that we are in a country, we are over 60 years now. We have issues with electricity. Over 60 years now, we have issue with employment facility. Over 60 years now, we are still fetching water from the drainage, from the gutter. You'll be fetching water here and you see somebody peeing there. Over 60 years now, we have issue with our road networks. And I tell you, yes, we know you cannot solve it in 5 years. But we are saying, don't give us too much promises. Limit your promises and do something substantial so that our youth, our people will see. And core on the mandate we want to see is how we can remedy the issues of youth employment. Now, what we need to do is to open the space.
How?
How do we open the space? It is good. That is why sometimes it pains me when people come to power and then you notice that when they are made president, you will see people that they appoint. You ask, what's this person? Who is this person? And maybe you just give the person based on, I have doctorate degree, or maybe, because he was in the diaspora. So doing what?
Are you questioning the competence?
No, I'm coming to something. So how committed are they? Right? You cannot come here and call the president of Sludge and give him a position, you understand it? And you expect him not to deliver because you've seen his footprint. You cannot come and call Marcella and say, Marcella, come and head this. You know that she will deliver because she will deliver not based on tribe, not based on religion, not based on sentiment. So my problem here is you leave people that have demonstrated competency in your country and go out and bring people because either you're tribesman.
So in essence, you are saying our leaders, do not understand the problems of the country. Is that what you're saysaying?
What? Yeah, they do not understand.
So they cannot address it.
No, we will be able to talk to them in order for us to address it. You know, the negative.
Is that really the problem here, or do we now have advocates for our institutions to function independently with integrity? Because take for example, in as much as I hold the view that the police is politicized because you have the vice president sitting as the chair of the council and you have the internal affairs minister in there, they've always argued they have operational independence. So is it in that case, is it in the case where if I'm appointed Inspector General of Police, just by the appointment, I feel obligated to just, protect you, do all I can to, for you to understand that, but I did for you, no matter what. Is that the situation? You go to the courts, you have people who do not trust the courts, the judiciary. You go to NEC for the Electoral Commission, opposition politicians will tell you that they've lost trust and confidence. So do we have trust and confidence in institutions that should actually give us remedy, address these concerns?
Let me tell you something. Quickly. I'm going to give you a scenario. Yeah. I was appointed as a commissioner at NATCOM. And ordinarily, and I was bold to say, I said, Mr. President, I agree. But I want to tell you, I have not left the civil society. If something happened, I will bring it up. And he said, you are free to bring that up. In fact, I want to be monitored, right? But you know what happens in society? When people try to bring things up, if it is APC, they say, then SLPP. If it is SLPP, they say this is APC. Because I was looking, let me tell you something. Our leaders now, the sooner they make, I don't know what is wrong with Sierra Leoneans. If I made a minister today, or made head of department or agency today, believe you me, if I was a friend to Marcella, I begin to draw a line. And when Marcella tries to advise me, I think I know too much. Remember, Marcella and I, we are eating in the same place, living in the same place, but I now feel I am so great.
Yeah,
you understand? Too powerful. Okay. People don't listen to people because why I'm bringing this?
Quickly.
I was looking at section 59, in section 49 of our constitution, which tells us the process to remove a president from power. And it tells us clearly, one, when the president resigns, you understand, or die. The other one, they say when in time end. The other one, it say if 50 talk about when it get mental issue, and 51 says the Parliament of Sierra Leone, half of them can rise up, write a petition to the Speaker of Parliament and ask for an impeachment with evidences.
Why citing that?
Right? Why am I citing this? We have an issue, if you notice, that the government or the president is not doing well. We have all the remedies to go.
So you're saying let's wait 2023.
Let's wait 2023 because
the presidency, we're not satisfied.
Yeah.
Let me ask Marcella this question about the efficiency of our institutions, the independence, the credibility of these institutions. I mean, if I'm dissatisfied, if I'm aggrieved, I should be able to have that trust and that confidence to go to the judiciary, go to the court, seek redress, and I know justice will be served. But in Sierra Leone today, it appears. When you want to compound your problem, go to these institutions. How then do we reform these institutions for the betterment of Sierra Leone?
So, Samuel, in local parlance, and go say you don't hit, this not the hate part case, honestly. And I think I keep coming back to the Constitution. My institution is also foremost agency for, advocating for the reform of the Constitution. And we still believe that we need an holistic view of the Constitution, not just touching the Constitution on piecemeal. We need to strengthen our institution. If not, it's a vicious cycle. Where this scam, the elites are using the political space to settle their scores. Right. Say what you may. In fact, right now, people they don't hang for the other one day. We are moving in a vicious cycle, a politics of do me or do you. And that must end. We really need something to put an end to it. And we believe that for peace and cohesion, to maintain, we need a requisite legal framework. And it's that advantage the Constitution would give, where people, their rights to be in certain offices are by merit and are guaranteed. I have an example from Kenya. The Kenya has similar problems like Sierra Leone. So the context in terms of ethno-regional politics and all of it's so similar. But when they looked at the 2010 Constitution and promulgated it, a number of their problems, you see now they run to the Supreme Court.
Right.
That is how they have designed their system, because they recognize their problems and they own it and said together, let's find a solution to it. But if we want to continue like this, talking would not solve the problem. We definitely need action. I want to pick on what the religious leader said. He mentioned that their strategy is different. Even civil society uses that strategy.
Exactly.
We lobby a lot. Sometimes we go to leaders and beg them. We literally beg them, don't go this route. There are times we don't come to the public.
Right.
Because what you do, you will add insult to injury. Because the issue is tense. We talk to them. Get them to understand, we cannot continue like that. Let's have a constitution that would guarantee the freedom and rights of individuals, and people could be able to dispense their duties without fear of reprisal. So we need to put it high on the agenda. The media, civil society, religious leaders, all of us need to put it high on the agenda that after the 2023 elections, let's put a reviewed constitution that can go to a referendum as the way to go in terms of democracy building. But for now, pre-2023, what should we do?
Right.
And that's why I want to put the question squarely on the Peace Commission. We need to look at the Peace Commission critically. The essence of the Peace Commission is a recommendation from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission report. And that is an integration and unity space. The Peace Commission has a constitution problem. It's not properly constituted. They cannot deliver in that state. And I think we need to go back to the drawing board. The authorities need to go back to the drawing board, recall the Peace Commission, and organize it properly. Because we can be dealing with we can be dealing with the other issues, but they need to deal with the granular issues. For example, we now look at people sharing fake news. I normally say when the news is fake, it is not news. You're actually spreading hate and chaos. If it is fake, it is not news, it's chaos. So those granular issues are the things that the Peace Commission should take on board and start engaging Facebook or start engaging WhatsApp. You know, get them to know exactly, go to Google, get them to know that this is the situation in Sierra Leone, holistically our social media spaces, because we are also mindful.
Right.
We are not advocating. What happened on the 10th? The internet was shut down.
Right.
We don't want internet shut down. That is not a solution. Because in as much as we don't want hate speech, we don't want to break freedom of expression too. And there is a line between freedom of expression and hate.
Right.
So they need to address the granular issues. How do they get onto Meta to discuss these issues as per the context in Sierra Leone? And then they look at hateful messages, tag them, and whenever Facebook sees those messages, bring them down. These are the whole of an integration, a peace and integration commission. They should not come to the issues that my NGO is dealing with, talking to people. No, they need to look at the bigger issues. Now we have a problem. The two political parties cannot see eye to eye. The Peace Commission should be able to position itself to bring them together. Those are the granular issues, and those are the issues that are affecting us. So I think the biggest recommendation or takeaway from this panel today is to recommend to the authorities, if it costs us to go back to the law and review it, but the Peace Commission has a very important role to play ahead of the elections.
Interesting. Yes, please.
I wrote a bit recently about the Peace Commission. Because I've been talking to most of the board members who should serve as an advisory or oversight for the commission, and they are not happy. They are not happy with the way things are going there right now. They are very concerned about recruitment of staff. They are also concerned about other issues, interference and independence. And so, if the Peace Commission is not independent from day one, definitely there will be no success. So the government needs to take those things seriously. Those are serious. You see, we just want to build the institutions and establish them by law and then leave them. Right. But it's a very important decision, like Matala said, from the TRC. The TRC gave us so many recommendations that we've abandoned because since 2002, yes, nothing has been done with that report. We need to go back and look at those reports. That's what we have in all these problems. That report lays out everything about the war, the causes of the war, and what we should do to prevent another war. But we have abandoned it since 2002. And so we need to go back there and see those institutions, those things. Yes, we're talking about reviewing the constitution again. That is very key because we need to get the key institutions independent, to operate independently. Because as now, they are very subservient to the government. The government has so much, the executive has so much power. So much power. I think in 2010 or 2012 or 11, we started a conversation about a new political system. Dr. Omodele Jones. Yes, that was a good conversation. We should begin to go back to that because we've tried the system for over 50 years, 60 years. No success. It's the same thing. APC, HWP. It's one party in power, take control of the resources, take control of everything, appointment and everything, and the other party will be outside. So we need to go back to this conversation. Let's have a political system that will be so inclusive, that will lessen the tension between these two parties and give everybody the chance to be part of the governance system and part of the resources. Talk about the police. The police need to build their trust with the citizens. They have so many good platforms. The police complaint board, the CDID, yes. Then the community policing. Those are key structures that will help them to relate to the community and build their trust. I think we also need to help them. Civil society, the media, and other stakeholders need to help the police to build that trust because that trust is lacking right now. It's very lacking. There is so much injustice in this country. So much injustice. People go, the poor people are the ones who are suffering. People who are in power and who have influence and have money, they get their way with the police. The poor people don't get justice there. And so that is something that is also building this hate between the police and the public. So police need to go back to the drawing board, and we need to help them to ensure that they restore that trust between themselves and the public.
No, let me quickly ask you this question. We go back to the True Family Reconciliation Commission report. The setting up of the Peace Commission, was one of the imperative recommendations. We needed a permanent infrastructure to look after our peace, to continue to consolidate our peace. And the Peace Commission, has been set up. But, I like what Marcella is saying. From the recruitment process, many legal people, pushed forward that, oh, no, I think we're getting it wrong. And now the Peace Commission is not at peace with itself. How then do we push? How do we drive that permanent infrastructure to achieving its goal?
Parliament go back and recall the documents and review it in the interest of this nation. If SFP thinks that, if the government thinks that they will set up the commission and it will work irrespective of the opposition, it will not work. It will not work. There are other voices, there are other stakeholders. They have to be part of that process, inclusive, and they have to be some of trust and confidence in the process. But I don't think the opposition have that confidence, even with the money too. That's why they didn't get involved. Yeah. So the government has to make that way so that they show that they are genuine, they show that they mean well, and they create the space for this kind of confidence to be lost. So Parliament has a role to play. Get back this thing before we go to 5 years or 6 years, and then we're talking about the Peace Commission as IMC or as Right to Access Information Commission or those other commissions that are underfunded or understaffed. So let's get back, let Parliament get back the document and review it in the interest of this nation so that we have an independent institution devoid of any state interference. But the Parliament will guarantee that they have the resources, they will be allocated every year, and they have the resources to do their work and get some kind of a board that the board, the composition of the board is they are very credible people. They are very credible with people with wealth of experience who have served the nation before. That's where they should be, and they are willing to serve. Yes. So let's get it right for them so that they give back to society. So that is very important.
So Sheikh Bali, I mean, what do we look forward to seeing in terms of engagement, in terms of lobbying, in terms of actually, I mean, turning down the flames, I mean, as we see currently in Sierra Leone?
Core values as Inter-Religious Council. Still, we are trying to improve on the moral standard and spiritual standard of the nation, both the leaders and the people. You see, we are talking about reviewing constitution, we still have good laws in this country, but we don't implement them. I wish we'll implement only 30% of the laws that we have, but we don't implement them. We can still go and review the constitution, and we don't implement it. We can still allocate budget, and they misuse the budget. We can still equip the police or the security sector, and they still abuse. You know, this is a human being. You need to police yourself. We need that self-discipline. You see, unless we get that, unless we left in Creole lip service to religion, this is our problem right now. We have left religion with religious people.
So we are our own problem.
We have our own problem. For example, when you go to the church, you are very pious, very religious. During the service, or when you go to the mosque, you are very obedient, very attentive. You listen, you pray, you are God-fearing. Somebody drop your phone, you give them back your phone. But after the service, after the prayer, you come out. Even when you are coming out, you hit each other. When you are coming out, somebody is begging you don't care about the person. You don't have sympathy. You don't have. So this is the problem. You know, we need to go back to that.
That's a breakdown in society.
Yeah, what I'm saying, the moral value still. That is our point, what I'm saying. Yeah. Whether you are a leader, whether you're a police officer, whether you're a keke rider, sometimes you cheat your passenger, you don't give him his change. Yeah. Poda driver will cut the route, you know, halfway and get down. Sometimes you block the traffic at Eastern Police, nobody passes for the next 30 minutes because there is no police officer. These are the root cause. These are the root cause. We have to go back and reform our mind, reform ourselves. Those countries that are developed, not because they have resources. Singapore, for example, they don't have resources, but they change their attitude, their mindset. You know, they are honest. You know, they are not 100% honest, but at least they try their best to be honest, and the laws to be, you know, they respect the laws that they have. That's why the place is clean. When they give you a contract, you deliver. When they give you a position, you deliver. You don't hate the other side because of you are here and he's there. So, really, Inter-Religious Council, we are going back to this core value. We are trying to improve on it. And until we do that, we and God make palaver. Let me be very honest, because God now created this universe, now creates we. Yeah. So if we offend them, if we don't respect them, if we malice them, if we disobey them, you know, we'll give you peace of mind, you know. So our message is we are going back to improve on the moral standard and the spiritual standard of our people, and you will see they will perform. Then even this corruption will be a thing of the past. When they give you a project, because you fear God, you will perform. So this is, I think, what religion is here to do. Religion is here to do good to us. But the problem is we are paying lip service to religion. We leave it to religious people. You know, it's like we are not religious. They are the religious people. Leave them, which is wrong. I think we have to correct that perspective.
So we have to go back to society.
Yes.
Society is the fundamental problem here.
Exactly.
Okay. So, yes, Sano, what's the way forward?
I think everybody in Sierra Leone, we take them to the Great Britain to live there, and we bring the people of Great Britain here. Believe you me, we will still do the same things we are doing here. We will destroy the Great Britain in just less than a year. That is so clear. When you look at our laws, they are very, very rigid and good. But when I look at our constitution and other laws, I ask myself, but why are we not using them? We have not used even, let's say, 1/3 of those laws. And one thing I notice is that if you have a law without a sanction, it's better you don't have a law. So what I am trying to say is that with what happened on the 10th, it was very unfortunate. We don't want to go that route again. What we are talking to our people, both parties, we want to see peace. It is important for them to ensure that we live in a peaceful atmosphere. In doing so, we want to also talk to our youths. I was at Victoria Park talking to the youths. I was at down Stanley Abacha Street talking to the women. So I told them, I said, I don't know, maybe there is somewhere. When I was out of Sierra Leone, I never saw a government coming to give me money. So this is your government. Make sure you become serious with your business. You have kids, you have husbands, you have wife to take care of. So what you should do not leave this and go out to cause any mayhem. What you should do, I think what we lack is respect for law and order in this society. So I encourage them. I said, you know what you should do? Put yourself together, think of a way to ensure you promote yourself. I said, because at the end of
in a minute, Sano, let me go quickly back to what Nasrallah mentioned in his speech to the president during the engagement, that everything is Salona politics. So, I mean, you the civil society activist, for example, I mean, you play a very sacred role in society. But today, I'm sure you're not oblivious of that today, when Sano come out, he talk beginning, Sano is SLPP.
Yeah.
And Sano is always, so how then do you try to change that perception with people so that when you go out and talk, people understand that you're coming from a patriotic standpoint?
Okay, it is really sad, and not only the people, even among we civil societies. I remember in 2018, we have a meeting on beach. A senior civil society person tried to condemn me. And I look, when I got the news, I said, forget about that. What I am saying is that in this country, if SLPP is in opposition, if you talk anything good about APC, right, then you are SLPP. If APC is in opposition, if you talk anything good about SLPP, then you are SLPP. And they failed to realize, somebody attacked me, he said, bro, the government give you job. I said, well, and Eskroma also is SLPP because he was chairman for NASIT. And I said, Dr. Engineer, because I'm also an engineer. I said, my colleague engineer, he was a flag runner, deputy to Kande. I said, he's all Andrew Kelly. I said, so he works as a board member. So he too, and all of us. So what I want to say here is that people should learn to speak the truth and accept this. When I was trying to talk about the demonstration, I look at the Public Order Act section 17, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that was my authority. When I was talking about why we should ensure how to remove the president, I look at 59, 50 and 51 of our constitution. There should be an authority.
The only message I will take for tonight's program is from Dr. Freddie Lawson in the UK. Guys, those of you who have sent messages that do speak to, the issues being discussed here tonight, I'm sorry, it's just that I do not have time to go through the punishment of actually looking at what or which message I should read, when majority of the messages are along political lines, accusing people and attacking personalities. So I'm afraid I will not be able to go through all of them. So the only message I will take is from Dr. Freddie Lawson in the UK. He's saying the country cannot move forward with that constitution. A constitution should serve the citizens and not the other way around. The constitution is vague in many aspects, silent on others, and ambiguous in many other areas. If the president makes all the important appointments, how can you expect independence of the judiciary, police, etc.? Another issue is there must be consequences for wrongdoing. This is not applicable in our community. Sierra Leoneans have to decide on how they want to be governed. This system is not working for us. So just quickly, in 30 seconds each, I would love to get messages from you to Sierra Leoneans in promoting peace.
Message from the last that you just read.
Yeah.
The point is, we're not saying we do not have good laws, but if the constitution is gappy and the constitution engenders a system that doesn't work for us, we need to change it. And that should be the roadmap so that the law becomes, human tendency. The Sheikhs told us about morality and all of that. Human tendency, they go otherwise. So if the tendency of human beings is to encourage excesses, then you need a law to curtail those excesses. And that's what we're talking about. We all have to decide that we need a new constitution that would go through the process of a referendum and accessible so that we could chart the way forward for the Sierra Leone we want. And finally, my last point. You see, this gang culture is killing us. So it's online. We go to election, the gang culture is there. In fact, the police outlawed, what do they call it, marshals. The gang culture is killing us. So I talk to the politician, because if we don't want this country with sincerity and truth, then we miss the point. So if you're not individual, if you're not politician, you're not big figure in our society, and you they support gang, you they pay them for cause destruction, then they can't hide now, you can't sit on a public, they say we want peace. No, you will not get peace. So stop paying the gang, stop breeding a gang culture. Get the same boys and girls you are breeding, make meaningful service for them, create opportunity for them, let them better their lives so that they will get a future for themselves and their family. Stop the gang culture, they kill this country.
Quickly.
That's the appeal to the government and to the politician. The politician who they talk to them within the episode they mentioned. Yes. Because you know they get the problem. Not the ADC. The problem are between SPP and APC. Let me go to talk to them. Let them coexist. Let them coexist peacefully and let them find way for address the problems in this country together. Not the problem. The problem are that all two creator. From independence, I don't know get nothing. And the only problem is they work together and do. And the government let them make sure they appoint the independent panel for investigate that. Let them left all the narrative within the go pass. Let them left the police accountable to the public. People and they don't arrest. Let them make sure the people and the public know and when they get justice, let allow them for them to get right to lawyer and get justice. And the other stakeholders that we know there. Everybody gets a role for play. The last point I'm saying, some mommy don't call me in the vex and say, we don't fit hiding. Yeah, I apologize. Not to know all of it. I say some. I talk about a good one, I say some of Funa. And not to know the good one in the don't contribute to the nation, but they come like government talent, what they call, but some pound idea with the stop this country here. When I stop there with the big, please.
Chef?
For be the moral guarantor. And as I talk right now, we get a lot of programs we do right now, but when they come out, we mention them openly. Secondly, may I advise that we continue for fear God, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because if we give God your rights, instead we go secure we. But no matter how sophisticated we are, if we make it angry, it vex by we, give you peace, give you security. Okay. And finally, love Fred Hake. You know, we have this term in our local language, is hake. What is hake? It's offending the others. When you offend them and they don't forgive you, there are repercussions against you and against society as large.
Right.
And finally, law maintain the peace.
Joseph Sano, quickly, 10 seconds.
Yeah, what I want to say is, I think I'll break into Constitution 17, A and B. B says if it is simple cases like misdemeanor and other things, the person has 72 hours to stay in the custody of police. Remember when you are in police, so we are talking to the police to see that those that they have at hand, it is since the 10th, today is how many days we are expecting that. If it is not that, because 17, 3A said if it is a capital crime, you understand? It said it is 10 days. They have the right to bail. Okay. We are talking to them. And also, we don't have a country where police will go on shooting people and killing them. Section 16.1 prohibits that. I'm talking, even the killing of Samson and others, they must also be investigated. Among all others, youth, stay calm and listen to elders.
Thank you very much. And this is all time permits us to bring you tonight. AYV on Sunday. Many thanks to my panelists for giving us their time. I've enjoyed the privilege of spending the night with them. If you missed a part of this, remember a repeat of it comes up on Thursday, 10 p.m. But fresh edition comes up next week, same time, same station, here on AYV Television. My name is Samuel Weisbango. The show has been AYV on Sunday. Take care of yourself, and up next is our AYV.